This is Sounds of Decay 2 with Mutant Sex Demon, Cutting Through. Cutting through usually means addressing something clearly and directly. One look at the album cover, an obvious occult, heavily pregnant, unvirgin Mary in a mentor-style hood, about to birth Satan's spawn on a human remain-strewn floor without ever ruffling her fishnets, tells you that Finland's one-man force isn't here to pull punches. She's even smoking. Of course she is. This is rock and roll damnation in action. And with that image above, you know you're in for full-on satanic panic joyride. A spice of MSD is the additive that makes the difference, whether he goes by Magister Salax de Volta or listed here as Mutant Sex Demon. Nicholas Walgren is surely an evil glam warlock who found the guitar.
The music here slices deep. What could have been pure shock value turns out to be a sharp, riff-heavy, blackened sermon that just can't be enough to be fun and just grimy enough to be dangerous. Cutting Through marks MSD's second full-length album, dropping just a year after 2024's Filth Messiah. It brings 8 new tracks that mostly blaze by in the 3 to 4 minute range, tight, punchy, and soaked in sleaze. As Walgreen puts it himself, Mutant Sex Demon is kind of a personification of my interest in 70s and 80s sleaze and horror movies, 80s metal, serial killers, and other obscure stuff, let's call it in the dark side of human nature. You know that dark passenger vibe we all secretly romanticize? Well, that's what this record feeds. The album opens with a brief intro into the Satan's Den, featuring the whir of a film projector, no doubt queuing up some grainy B horror movie reel, while a synthesizer moans, groans, and tolls like a death knell. Over it all, the practiced voice of a news reporter warns viewers of the rising threat of satanic cults, perfectly setting the stage for what's to come. Then the record properly kicks in with Filth Metal Warriors, a triumphant blast of surge and mire. The guitars are begrimed, deep, murky burbles punctuated by punch, punch, pause, snappy drum smacks that soon take off like a whirling helicopter beat. Spoken word samples jab through the mix, and a cult-like chant list of words pop like propaganda over a ritual.
The vocals hiss, shriek, and squawk with a harsh, high register that somehow remains weirdly intelligible, like you've suddenly discovered your fluent and parcel tongue. The bass adds a rumbling tension, darkening the sauce under the hookier than a cat's claws in your fishnets guitar surges that jam in a repeating ba-da pattern. The vocals lurch along this throbbing wave on the chorus, Filth Metal Warriors, reflected in a damnation echo of, let's say, roughly ninth circle of Hell Deep, Demon Grumble. What sounds like a primetime reporter warns us that the practice of listening exclusively to heavy metal music can lead to Satanism. Adding the incendiary device on top is provided by singed and seared guitar solo, courtesy of fellow fiend, Hell Priest of Nocturnal Mass. Yes, that is the actual name credit on Bandcamp.
Also goes by Hapanum. Rider of the Devil's Tongue hits the gas with Motorhead-informed, blazing, rollicking drums full of Lemmy-style swagger, but with a side of vampire kink. The guitar lines run the gamut, starting light and rangy before settling into a deep, quivering, nasty riff engine. The vocals are a sneering seethe, bubbling with contempt and occasionally bursting into untethered screams as if possessed mid-take. Then comes Too Fast for Life, which literally kicks off with the satisfying crack of a cold one being popped to start the party. The guitars take on a heavy hair edge here, with riffs that loop in ground-swelling sways evoking early Wasp, but not as radio-friendly. Vocals, less scream, more burp, retch, and caustic gargle like someone swilling bourbon behind a gas station at 3 a.m. The drums offer up mid-paced clunk-lunk slam fest, stomping with deliberate, sticky weight. A short guitar burble near the end tries to break through the filth, just peeking out from behind the grime-smeared veil near the track's end. Let's play a clip. This is Rider of the Devil's Tongue. Also of note is the very different Vomitos Bite It, which opens with bass tones so thick and saturated with long note vibrato they'll sear your eyebrows off. A reporter's voice cuts in, sounding the alarm once again, this time about the controversial Gigi Allen, whose shows were filled with violence, bloodshed, and sexual assault, which, to be fair, sounds like a Tuesday night for that guy.
A sexy guitar line shakes its tail feather, meandering and seductively behind MSD's signature caustic retch, which later in the track layers into a bubbling chorus of bile like air escaping a boiling potion of bad intentions. Things escalate. Samples of Alan's actual word rants and threats surface mid-track, and you can feel how much he meant every deranged word. It makes El Duce seem like a matinee. A low guitar riff oozes beneath it all, shifting and mutating in the mire. Then, as if summoned from the collective ID of every anarchist zine ever printed, the song closes with a cult leader mic drop, a quote from Charles Manson himself. If I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left. A full circle moment of punk violence, media hysteria, and genuine evil served raw. But if I had to pick a favorite track, it's Hellbound, featuring guitar fuzz thicker than a mohair sweater and just as clingy. Walgren retches and screams as a whining guitar riff snags you like a dryer sheet to Velcro, bubbling into a sonic attack that becomes your satanic panic touchstone for the chorus. The chord progressions carry a distinctly punk rock snarl. Think early Venom informed. There's another bite and rip solo from Hell Priest of Nocturnal Mass, noodling out a twisted flying spaghetti monster solo, like a Pastafarian deity. Google that one. You will not be disappointed.
Pastafarians. Anyway. Cutting Through doesn't just dip a toe into blasphemy, it cannonballs into the flaming jacuzzi of satanic sleaze and invites you to swig red wine while it boils. Still not convinced? Take it from MSD himself. Madness can come without Satan, but Satan won't come without madness. That's the thesis right there. But what makes it work is that it's not all just attitude and chaos. It's well written, it's tight, there's no filler, no overthinking, just riff-ridden debauchery and unholy fun. It walks the line between parody and power with confidence, wit, and just enough madness to keep Satan interested. Let's close it out with a little bit of Hellbound.
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.